Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chief Andrew Smith from the Green Bay Police Department, and we're here on a great day for the Green Bay Police Department and on a great day for Green Bay. And we're bringing our K-9, Pyro, back in a very limited light-duty capacity, but he's going to be coming back to work, and you're going to get a chance to see him and say hi to him in just a minute or two here. But there's a few things I want to talk about and a few people that I really want to thank for this real miracle that we had here in the city of Green Bay. I mean, this dog was injured on April 7th, and because he's such a remarkable little dog, and because he's had such great medical care, and because the officers on the scene took such good care of him, he's back already. And I think a lot of prayers were answered in the city of Green Bay and across the country for our dog Pyro. I would, first of all, want to say thanks to all the people that reached out and asked how they could help out, and the donations. Behind the folks here, you see these are the K-9 trauma kits. Each one of these kits is about $300. We had an individual who called up and said, what do you need? How many kits? I'll send them to you FedEx tomorrow. And he did exactly that. We're also going to order a couple more because some people made donations and earmarked them for K-9 trauma kits. Those are going to be in our supervisors' vehicles. And of course, we have to replenish Officer Saltzman's kit because he used a lot of the equipment that's in that kit to save Pyro's life that night. But I just can't tell you how many people reached out with calls and letters and cards and donations. And we have a K-9 donations fund here at Green Bay. That donations fund was at $8.13 before this incident happened. So we don't have a lot of wiggle room in there when it comes to buying stuff and equipment for our dogs that's not in the budget. So I can't tell you. The most touching one I had, though, was this little envelope that some kid dropped off at the front desk. It says, "For the injured K-9 Pyro, God bless Pyro." And inside it was a quarter, 2 dimes, and a fistful of pennies that he dropped off at the front desk. So it's just warms your heart to see what wonderful things people in Green Bay and really across the country did to help out Pyro and help us out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up Dr. Sue Leonard. She's from the Fox Valley Animal Referral Center. She's one of the criticalists who treated Pyro that very night. She'll be able to tell you about his injuries, what kind of prognosis he's got, how he was able to bounce back so quickly from such a severe injury. Dr. Sue Leonard.
Thank you. Maybe I could have my other staff members
come on up.
From, Thanks. I'm very nervous. I usually like to be in the background, but everybody else is conveniently out, so I'm here talking today. But I'm always happy to show gratitude to our staff with all the help that we had with Pyro. And obviously, even though I'm the one up here speaking, this was a huge, huge team effort. And naturally, everybody thinks about the doctors about times like this, though truly our hospital has a huge staff of nurses and technicians and assistants, and so we really, if anybody has been in the hospital recently, you know the nurses are really the backbone, spending all the time with the patients. And so, and I have some of my doctors here with me, Rosemary, Dr. Ball, she was in Green Bay the night that Pyro came in, and Dr. Forbes, where's Dr. Condon?
I'm right here.
Oh, right there. And so truly, at Green Bay and Fox Valley with our receptionists and our support staff, everybody does work together as a team, and not just for Pyro, but for all our patients that we see. And so we also want to thank all the area businesses that donated time, and Smith's Pharmacy donated drugs, and restaurants donated food, both for Pyro and our staff, so we're very grateful for that. A large bag of bacon came in one day, and we weren't really sure whether that was for Pyro or for us, but we didn't ask. We shared it. Certainly the community, both near and far, all the good well wishes are very appreciated. Certainly all the members of the Green Bay Police Department that stepped up to allow Scott to spend his time at the hospital with Pyro. And around the country, certainly there's some hero dogs that donated blood products such that we had immediate access to give Pyro. He ended up having 4 transfusions, so we appreciate those dogs as well. And of course, actually all our families, because Pyro, even though he's well known, I mean, this is what we deal with every day, and so it's not unusual when we're just about to leave at the end of a 14-hour shift and the call comes in And we call home and say, well, we're not coming home. And our family knows not to ask any questions because they just say, we'll see you when we see you. And so Pyro, as you know, suffered a really severe injury on Sunday, April 7th. And because of the training that Officer Salzman and the other officers had, when they moved Pyro to safety, they immediately started examining him and surveying his injuries, and they realized right away that it was life-threatening and that he was coughing up blood. And so as you realize, the training that he had and the other officers had were crucial in providing first aid at the scene, providing pressure control, and then they moved him to the Green Bay Referral Center, which in a crisis, it's best to go to the closest emergency facility. There was some discussion about driving the dog down to Appleton, but I think he would have been dead if they had made that decision. They got him to Green Bay, where Dr. Ball and her staff was on duty, and he had suffered significant blood loss. His injuries were not making them up. He almost died from the stab wounds in his neck. And so Dr. Ball's staff stabilized Pyro. And then I just happened to be on my way home that night when the call came in. And so I can never avoid a good trauma, sadly. And so, so I ended up taking a detour and stopping by Green Bay and transported Pyro in the transport down to Appleton. And we also appreciate the transport people who brought us on that ride down to Appleton. And because by the time we got to Appleton, his vital signs were very unstable again. And as we opened the ambulance doors, Dr. Rob Forrest here, the first thing he said to me was, Sue, what do you need? And I said, I need an airway, I need blood, I need vitals. And so Pyro had ultimately received 4 transfusions over the course of the next 12 hours. He was taken to surgery because we realized that we couldn't control the amount of bleeding that was coming from the wounds on his neck, and it was compromising his breathing. And so one of our surgeons, Dr. Ryan Demionic, sorry. I was practicing that pronunciation all morning.
Everyone calls him Dr. Ryan.
Yeah, Dr. Ryan Demionic, yes. Came in, and Dr. Lisa Peters, who's the other criticalist, we helped with anesthesia. And so it was touch and go. It was scary. Thank you, Pyro, for having more gray hair on my head. That's all I need. And so he had surgery that night. The wounds were explored. There was massive blood loss. His carotid artery, the main artery to the head, had to be ligated in order to actually stop the blood loss. He had injuries to his trachea and his esophagus, the esophagus being the feeding tube that goes from your mouth to your stomach. And so he did make it through anesthesia, and Dr. Forbes and Dr. Sturry took care of him. And then yet 3 hours later, we were back in surgery again because he had suffered a twisted stomach, a gastric dilatation volvulus. So Dr. Ryan, Dr. Lisa, myself, and the anesthesia nurse couldn't believe we were back in surgery again. And he came out of surgery with a tracheostomy, a breathing tube in his neck, and a feeding tube. And really, his recovery was miraculous from that point forward. I mean, these dogs have such incredible stamina. It's just really crazy. And so from that point forward, despite having pneumonia and all these things, Pyro, he was standing up, and I think he was hungry. Initially, we fed him through the feeding tube because we're concerned about the injury to his esophagus. He also had some injury to the nerves in his neck, so his left eye actually, he has trouble holding the eyelid open completely, but that's improved quite a bit, and we hope that's going to completely go away. He was discharged on Friday, April 12th, and I authorized his return to active duty yesterday in a modified regimen, and I know Pyro is physically 110%. He's mentally 110%. However, it's really crucial for the next month that we be cautious about any pressure on his neck because of the healing of the esophagus and the nerves. And so any work that requires, you know, a pinch collar or active restraint, you know, he's not allowed to do at this point. We still don't know whether he'll need corrective surgeries down the road even several months from now. That's just something that we have to wait and see. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think the music's going to play because it's going to haul me off the stage here. But we'll be taking specific medical questions at the end, right? And just to close, I mean, we all know that life can change in an instant, but certainly this with Pyro has reminded us all of that. And in 2018, 150 law enforcement officers and 19 operational canines lost their lives in the line of duty. And so we are very grateful, and we remember their sacrifice every day. I did.
Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Leonard. It was a series of miracles, I think, from the officer. The one trauma kit we have at the time was in Scott Saltzman's car. The fact that he knew how to use it and he took quick action clearly saved Pyro's life that day. Taking him to the right place and eventually bringing him down there was, again, the right move. Taking him to the Animal Referral Center, world-class medical treatment for animals. I just can't speak highly enough how thankful we are that they are here in our community and that we were able to bring him to that place. Otherwise, we would not have Pyro, I'm convinced. And I think you've probably heard enough of me talking for now, so if we're good to go, maybe we can bring in Mr. Pyro and his handler, Scott Saltzman, for just a minute. There he is. Now you can see he's got a harness on instead of his collar. As the doctor said, they don't want to have the collar on because of the risk of re-injuring that neck. But he's an energetic little guy. He's 2.5 years old, Belgian Malinois. We've had him for about a year, and Scott's been the handler since day one. So. I suppose he's looking for some bad guy or some bad thing or something, right? Yeah, yeah. And he's a working dog, and I think there's nothing he likes better than working. You know, watching him get in the car that first day, and watching him in the field as he works. This is what he loves to do. He loves to go out and he loves to work. He loves to be with Scott. So we're gonna go ahead and let him go back to his car, and then Scott's gonna come back at the very end, say a couple words, and if anybody wants to do a quick one-on-one interview with Scott, his handler, Scott Saltzman, then we'll be able to do that. So as you know, he was transported from the scene to the first Animal Referral Center here in Green Bay via our Bearcat, and that's with the officers applying the bandages and the coagulant to his neck wounds. But he was transported from Green Bay down to Appleton to the ARC in the back of a county rescue ambulance. The fire department here in Green Bay has been super supportive of us as a department. Assistant Chief Ryan Gibbons is here to transport what their protocol is going to be and some training that they're going to give for their firefighters.
Thank you, Chief. After the incident with Pyro, we realized that we were deficient in a little bit of our training that we had on how to deal with canines when they were injured. So we reached out to the veterinary community and were able to find out that through the Animal Referral Center at the Fox Valley, Dr. Lisa Peters puts on a class for first responders on how to treat canine animals. So starting in the end of May, she is going to come up here with her staff and some of her animals, and then also we'll use some of the canines from the police department, and we will have that class here at the police department trying to train all of our paramedics on how to treat the canines. It's a little bit different than humans, but a lot of the training is the same. So we're going to start that process in May, and we'll continue that through the summer. After we do our first class, we'll kind of evaluate what specialized equipment that we're going to need, if anything that we don't have now, and then we will move on from there. We've also worked in partnership with the police department to try and change some of our policies, that if this were to happen in the future, we would be more than happy to take care of those K-9 officers and transport them to whatever facility that they need. So that's kind of the process that we're looking at moving forward.
Thanks, Chief. And now our primary vet care for the Green Bay Police Department, as well as the County K-9, as well as the Hobart Lawrence Police Department K-9, is Dr. Margaret Eastman from the Bay East Animal Hospital. And she was there that night. She just wants to say a couple words.
Hi, thank you. Well, I can't tell you how excited I am to see Pyro back in action. My practice and my staff is very attached to him, as well as a lot of the canines that we see, and their handlers. It's really kind of a treasure duty, and we appreciate the trust that the different agencies have put in us to, leave this resource in our care. Most of what we do is preventative medicine. We try to, take care of their day-to-day needs. I can't tell you how relieved I was when I joined up with the officers at the emergency clinic to have a criticalist from Fox Valley come up and help get Pyro to Fox Valley in one piece and alive, and that's always the goal. And so I just wanted to express my thanks to the community for all the support. I know Scott appreciates it. We at Bay East are so thrilled that he's come this far, and we're really looking forward to helping with his continued care as we go ahead, and we're going to take his surgical staples out this afternoon, so that'll be fun. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Eastman. We wouldn't have, and if you look back here, you can see our lineup of canines that we have right now. We wouldn't have a canine program if it weren't for Bark and Blue. Bark and Blue has been a support of ours for many years. They've paid for most of the police canines that you see behind me through donations, not through taxpayer funds. So the canines you see here, most of the canines were paid for by Bark and Blue. Most of the training that comes along with that was paid for by Bark and Blue. So I'm going to invite Heather to come up here and chat for just a second, and come on up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, don't go
Great.
too far.
I'm not going to go. I'm going to stay right here.
Hello, everyone. Thanks
Yeah.
again for coming today. Thank you, Chief Smith, for all of your support with Pyro. Clearly, Bark and Blue Foundation is very passionate about the K-9 unit, and we just love the support. So thank you so much for all of that. I want to thank, first and foremost, Pyro. Pyro was the one who endured this tragedy and to save essentially 2 other human beings' lives and their crews. The crews that were there, the unsung heroes that stepped into action to be the first line of defense in saving Pyro's life, to then Bay East, to then the Animal Referral Center. There were just a lot of players, and the community really supports us, and as the chief shared, it is a national interest story. So we had someone from Russia reach out to us on our Facebook page interested in how Pyro was doing, so thank you for that. With that being said, we try to always have proactive measures in place where we're helping to supply the police department canines with funds. We asked you, the community, to help us raise money for Pyro's recovery so that the police department wouldn't have to incur any cost for Pyro's medical bills. We still do not have those medical bills, but we will 100% be able to fund them, as the account is at over $62,000. Thank you.
That's amazing. And we have not received a bill yet. One of the things I wanted to mention, though, is we're looking at our insurance and seeing what our insurance is going to cover. We've been in contact with our insurance carrier. It looks now, and it's not finalized yet, but the maximum our insurance would cover on a canine injury like this is $5,000. We're also going to look at restitution from Mr. Vang. I don't know what his financial capabilities are, but when you stab a canine like that from our department, we want the first place where we go to get money is the person who caused that injury. So we're going to try and see if we can get any restitution from Mr. Vang, who inflicted that injury on our dog. So again, the outpouring has been fantastic. The our Facebook site, I think, had 650,000 hits, which is a lot more than we get on a typical day here in Green Bay. So it's just been great, and the support and the prayers and everything from the care. I just couldn't be more thankful. Finally, I'm going to bring up Nicole from Global Recognition. Every time something happens with the police department and we need support, Global Recognition steps up, and they did again this time with the T-shirt sales, and she'll tell us about that.
Thank you. We at Global Recognition are super excited and just so blown away how this took off virally to see, you know, when it comes to a t-shirt, it's a visible way to share with everybody that you're behind the canines in general. And so it's just been incredible to see that take off. So I do want to share that we have closed out the actual order, so we can go ahead and start producing and getting the orders out so everybody can be wearing the t-shirts. Hashtag Team Pyro is on the back of the shirt. So I think what's super cool is this is getting sent out. I mean, we have orders in Hawaii, California, Alaska, like all over the place. So if you're following the hashtag Team Pyro as K-9 Pyro continues to do better, and I'm sure a lot of people have used that hashtag, you'll be able to see everybody getting into their t-shirts and just where that support is. So again, at Global Recognition, we're so grateful that this just took off the way it did. Orders are now closed. We are going into production, and we'll be following up with everybody in the next 2 weeks or so to let them know when it's time to pick up, and we'll be coordinating logistics and figuring that out. So we're just super grateful, as always, to be a part of our community, supporting our Green Bay Police Department, and just being able to make sure that K-9 Pyro continues to do well. So thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. And finally, a guy who doesn't like to get in front of the camera and talk, but I make him do it today because this is a real special day. Officer Scott Saltzman. Scott is the handler and partner for K-9 Pyro, and you know, he'll chat with you later one-on-one if you like, but I want to just bring him up for just a second. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Hello. Like Chief said, I'm definitely not one for attention and not one for speaking that much, but I just wanted to take this time to say thank you. It truly has been amazing, and the easiest way for me to extend my gratitude to everyone here is to come up here, be uncomfortable in front of everyone, and just say truly thank you. I mean, the love, the support from not only the community, but around the world, like the Chief had mentioned. I'm a firm believer in that, and I'm a firm believer that some miraculous things happen with Pyro, and it's through all the thoughts and cares and concerns through the public. The easiest way for me to say that is say thank you. Specifically, I'd like to truly thank the Green Bay Animal Referral Center for doing what they needed to do to get Pyro stable enough to even make that trip down to Fox Valley to get his life-saving procedures. The staff at Fox Valley, amazing. I can't thank them enough. I don't know that I'll ever be able to thank them enough. For me as well, my immediate family. You know, when you go through this, I take on this profession and this career. It was my choice. It wasn't necessarily the choice of my family, but they kind of bear this burden with me. So, thank you for that. And then my brothers and sisters here at the Green Bay Police Department, all the love and support, and you know, reaching out and spending time with me down at the hospital when I was literally there for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To come down there and make sure that I'm doing okay is just amazing. In addition to that, all the help from Brown County, De Pere, Hobart, Lawrence, all the K-9 guys coming together and taking care of me when something like this happens. It's truly amazing, and that's really all I can say is thank you. So if you don't get something specifically from me, I'm trying to do my best to say thank you to everyone here. All right? Thank you.
Great job, Scott. Thank you. And I think you all know the dedication that Scott Saltzman has towards his partner. You know that he stayed there around the clock. The folks at the clinic were good enough to set up a cot upstairs, and he basically slept in the cot for a couple hours and went down to spend time to make sure that Pyro was getting the best care and keeping him as calm as he could, as only his handler is able to do. So with that, I'll go ahead and open up to questions to anybody who's here or me. Any questions anybody has about anything related to this?
Chief Smith, you said light duty assignments. Can you define what light duty assignments consist of? Maybe?
Right. Basically, right now he's in the car where he's really the happiest and he's out working. But since he can't have the collar on that Scott uses to handle him, he's basically going to be doing drug sniffs. So he'll do drug sniffs. He'll do some training. We'll make sure his everything's right with him physically. But he just really wanted to get back, I think, to get back in the field. So he won't be doing anything that he's going to have to be on a leash. Anything's going to cause any injury. He's just going to be on that one harness that you saw.